Hey, here we go.
Here we go. Okay, maybe I can start with a brief introduction.
Yep.
Um, and the introduction is basically I started thinking about KPIs. We had lots of notes, we had several conversations, what we can do, what would be cool to have, what is actually feasible to achieve in a reasonable time span. And I didn't cover everything, but I covered at least some grounds that can hint us in which direction this would go. And then I thought, okay, this is a good time to start the discussion. Is this a good direction? Are we missing something? Is this going to scale to, support all the kinds and size of the companies that we want to support?
Yep.
And yeah, well, what I have now is a whimsical board. I guess the best way to move forward is to share that screen and then go screen by screen and figure out what we are missing, what is good, what is not. So sharing the screen is this one. I hope you can see it. I will have to move around my window to see you as well. Um, so basically what I covered is how to create a new KPI space or a KPI board, how to post updates to your KPIs, how to add metrics, and then later how to update those values and do some admin stuff about your metrics. Because once I started exploring, I realized that, okay, the happy path is that you just come, you enter some numbers and it updates the charts. But if you make a mistake or if you have some historical problems or everything else, we need to have the tooling to not get you stuck in that place, because how else you will move. I had some notes. I'm not sure how useful they are. They were useful for me when I started,
Mm.
but yeah, I can give some context about this.
Yeah.
So
So I did quickly go over these just before we met. Yeah, you don't have to maybe comment on each, but if there is some special, not obvious, thought process behind any of those, yeah, you can maybe have a comment about like the third one, but we can also talk about that when we look at the UI.
to be honest, I need to remind myself. So the first is you can create a private and not private set of KPIs. I think that's for both of us, that's completely logical. KPIs can be different. This might be something that we disagree about, but might not. Um, I feel that for my at least personal use in Operately, I had KPIs that have very different cadence. Some things that make sense to be updated every week. Some things needs to be updated, once per month or quarter
Yeah.
because there is no change. So I think it's important to cover this. But I also understand the logic that if you would have the same cadence for the whole company, that simplifies some stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's I may just throw a bomb right away. So, um my overall um concern is not the right word, but um is obviously like majority of people are they track KPIs in like spreadsheet, right? And the and what we're trying to do here, like we want to bring some order to that whole kind of process, help people establish order and sort of discipline, and just kind of tie KPIs, connect KPIs with other important things that and like goals, for example, and overall like indicators of state of the company and current work. So when you are like, we are going to add some structure through specialized UI. I'm just talking about very broadly now. And whenever you do that, you have you can run into the danger of like being too rigid, and asking a lot, asking in some cases what might be seen as just unnecessary or not very sensible, or so. And I think this maps to specifically, like, for example, cadence, update frequency. Like, what do we enforce? What do we not enforce? I think it also relates to notifications. I've been kind of having some second thought, like I've been feeling uneasy about, for example, like the way I'm not sure if there's a better way, but for example, for milestones, right? So Operately sends you notifications whenever somebody like maybe changes the timeline or completes milestones and stuff. And there's usually in like theory, but this is a minority case actually. Like you definitely want a notification like when somebody completes a milestone, right? From a project that you're interested in or whatever. But in most cases, like these updates typically happen in some kind of a bulk. So you get like a stream of like 5 emails within like 2 minutes about the same set of milestones, and so you're like, my immediate reaction is like, I'm not gonna even read those. I'm just gonna open that project and just like, see what's there. And I still don't think that's a problem. That's kind of maybe the nature of that whole thing. But with KPIs, I think we can really overshoot what triggers notifications. And I think the cadence thing is also related because it could be that it's not like a single KPI that's connected to an obligation, like, and a cadence, but a group. Like you have like 5 financial KPIs that the director of finance updates every month, where you have 10 KPIs related to whatever your internal platform that the platform team is responsible for, like on a weekly basis. It's important, but like getting 10 notifications, being asked to review 10 things, it's like, people, I wouldn't like that. I guess many other people wouldn't. So the granularity here is something that we can explore maybe.
I mean, I completely understand you. Sometimes I get like 5 notifications just about, it feels like the same thing, but it's not. Of course, when we are talking directly about the cadence, like notifications are one thing, like what the recipients are receiving, but also there is like when will appropriately tell me to update it, which is a different thing. I feel that it's okay to have weekly, monthly, quarterly, whenever you want to kind of remind yourself or remind your team that this needs to be updated. But notifications can be quite a problem. In some of these notes, not sure
The
which
way,
one,
yeah.
I think I tackled one of the concerns that you shared, and this was basically my note.
Mm.
I wasn't coming to it from the perspective of notifications, like how much I will bombard other people when I update something. I was coming to it from a perspective of, let's say you are updating platform KPIs, and like there are 6 numbers that are important, but you as a manager of the platform team or something, you are basically updating all of them at once.
Mm.
And I would really hate that if I need to go like 5 different clicks with 5 different messages just to convey one message that, this is the response time and this is something else. And, 5 numbers connected give you a whole picture. 5 different numbers sometimes do, sometimes don't.
Yeah. Well, there is something in the broader, I think, kind of design that we've been working on. So this is not yet visible in the actual application, but we have kind of come up with this concept of, and I think it's visible in your wireframes to some extent. Yeah, just right here. So the idea is like within a space. For example, here you have like a product teams space. You will be able to have like multiple groups of goals and projects, multiple groups of documents and files, multiple potentially even message boards. And so, of course, you should be able to have multiple, like, I'm even saying it, like groups of KPIs, right? And I think we can just kind of ride that, you know, use that concept so that a group of KPIs is like one cadence, one sort of duty, one update, one notification. And so, for example, a product in the product space for a product team, there might be a group of like uptime related KPI, a few uptime related KPIs, a few. Well, I mean, if there is a separation of responsibility along those lines, people would create groups probably of KPIs, or if there is a fundamentally different nature of KPIs that require different cadence, then that's also one way to divide groups.
I pause for a second to think. One of the concerns that I had in my mind when I was drawing this was basically the default behavior of Operately, or what it would encourage. And like one way how to do this is, you have one group of KPIs, and basically that group has one champion, and he's updating all the metrics. The concern I had was, okay, is this matching reality? I mean, in most of my experience, it did. Like one set of KPIs were updated by one manager or one lead in some area, and it was rarely like 6 people updating 6 numbers and then it mashes together.
No, people don't like it's like it doesn't make sense to divide work labor so granular. It's like making tea and then okay, you open the tea bag and I will do water and then the third person will bring the cup or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
the beauty of like multiple, like being able to have multiple instances is you can still always have just one if that works for your department or team. But then again, you can have as granular and as many as you need if you need. So. And also, I think we the group like the visual representation of a group when you look at the space from this kind of as it from sort of dashboards view, we should sort of summarize the state of all KPIs in there with like one number potentially, or so that's also going to give a hint that yeah, as long as they're related, they can be there, but if they're totally not, then probably good idea to separate.
I mean, I completely agree with everything. But let's try to match with some real KPIs in a product, just to avoid potential talking abstraction and not talking reality. So even in operate, like the product would have a set of KPIs for the state of development, which is usually how many issues, how many bugs, paper cuts, feature requests, talking about how we are progressing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one set of KPIs. The other set would be like other set would be about customers, about users, about how many people tried out the product and stayed with the product.
Yeah, retention, like things like some kind of conversion rates to active users and stuff. Yeah.
And the third group would be something about this specific maybe to how we operate, but let's say measuring the throughput of engineers, throughput of how much work we are able to do in a week. And for product, I can match it very easily. This is the place where I dirtied my hands all throughout all of my life. But maybe let's try for something more challenging, at least for me. Legal aspects of the company, marketing, like does this match there as well?
Well, there, for example, in marketing, you would typically there are different types of activities and there are different types of the metrics. For example, I would always like to track on a kind of monthly basis, like your overall maybe organic Google traffic, YouTube reach, like subscriber counts, all those kind of across different channels, kind of metrics. However, for example, in an active, actually staffed like marketing team, you operate. I think it's more. I would like to see, for example, myself like on a weekly basis, like some numbers related to, like what was, what content, like what how much content did we publish, like what were some maybe social media numbers in that week, because things are, things need to happen basically all the time. So there's yeah, there's at least, for example, a separation between types of media, types of, and in larger teams, these are also done by separate groups of people. So
I mean, one natural separation that I see immediately in every team is like, the measuring the outcome of our actions, be it in product or marketing, and the other is, which is get more and more important as the team is bigger, like what is the overall throughput that we can do for a week? Are we bogged down by various things? And I assume that this also holds for every team. But whatever you do, you want to keep a track of basically how much work we can do.
Yeah, so I'll send you a link and then you can open, since you're already sharing the screen. I actually, it's been a while ago. I wrote this blog post where, like, basically I started from the kind of question, like, some people talk about outcomes are the only thing that matters. You should focus on that. But then again, outcomes are in a large extent like very much beyond your control, right? So yes, we care. Ultimately, we should really never lose focus on the outcome, from the outcomes that we want to accomplish. But like, there's definitely externalities involved that you do not fully control. So also, if you're just only looking towards the big eventual kind of outcomes, you can, in my opinion, kind of get a little maybe too complacent sometimes on a day-to-day. You maybe lose some urgency and velocity. So, and then there's, like, people who only focus on the inputs, or what you create. But there's actually, if you scroll down a bit, there's a diagram.
It wants me to do something.
No, you don't have to. So in this image, it's like a scale, like, or it's kind of like a pipeline of like business activities. One thing leads to the next, and as you go from left to right, like, there is, on the far left are inputs, on the far right are like final outcomes, and then like the first, like, as you go towards the right, the less it is in your control, the closer you get to the final outcomes. So this is why you definitely need to have metrics on basically all of these. But I think, for kind of to go back to our discussion, it's like, the the outcome, the closer to the outcomes you are, I think the cadence of updates and looking at it is more is longer. It's probably a monthly basis, and then on the activity level, it's weekly, and in some areas of work even daily. So if you're like on a in doing customer support, like, or you're like in a call center, for example, like a day is a lot of time. A day is basically how every day in a year is like, and you are looking at daily numbers for sure for every individual and team.
I'm thinking very broadly, but I assume that the faster the natural rhythm of the outcomes is, you can probably only rely on outcome-based metrics. For example, in support, like you immediately see outcomes basically on a weekly level. You can adjust and make changes. Of course, some things take longer, but usually you interact with people so often. But on the flip side, for example, marketing, you can sometimes do stuff for 6 months and then you get some outcome. And probably a very big mistake would be to just ignore 6 months of work, and we are not measuring that. We are waiting for that 6 months that everything will just magically happen and everything was good.
Yeah.
But you could have probably predicted a lot of stuff if you have measured, at least on a monthly level, what were the inputs, activities, outputs of that team.
Yeah, this is this is a broader topic, but this is basically the true mastery of like business, in my opinion, is like learning eventually to connect these dots that are sometimes totally not, they seem far from each other or even not connected at all. But like, okay, how do I, what are the things that we need to do today, this week, every day? Or what's on a very granular level, like what are the activities and habits, and what's the kind of plan that will ultimately lead to the big outcome, like 6 months from now or 1 year from now? And just this is why you can't have like, a computer cannot run a business completely. Like, in theory, you can have like connections and like a hierarchy of metrics, but there's probably going to be just a disconnect. Like like the market will reject your idea, or it will just not go according to plan, or it will get much better than you expected, better than what maybe the norm is in many cases. So yeah, it is how it works. Yeah.
Let's go back to the I see that we only have like 20 minutes left, and that is a harder limit for me. So let's go back to this. So I think it was very good to go over these things, actually, because
we can keep maybe just sort of jumping in. Maybe we can perhaps we can keep this session on that high level. So there's maybe one or two. Yeah, just saying.
Yeah, I would maybe jump into the actual screens for creating that, let's say, group of KPIs, just to see that, okay, that is mostly how it would look. And definitely one of the bigger changes that I need to do is, so far the champions are on the level of the individual metric, but with everything said today, it makes much more sense to move that champion to the level of the KPI group, and you have like multiple metrics that you need to update at once.
Yes. Yeah, I think the add KPI flow and screens are probably most interesting. Most they determine most of the other stuff.
So basically, if you go like time-wise, you would start on a space, you would click add a new tool. That new tool would be, currently it's called KPIs. Maybe it's a good name, maybe it should be KPI group. So far I liked KPIs, even if it might be not the most correct thing, but it's very recognizable what it is. Then we go to the, like you are adding KPIs to the product, it offers you some name, maybe a description, and immediately I will leave a note. How can I leave a note? So add a champion here, your update cycle. Is that correct? I guess yes.
Well, we could use the word cadence.
Cadence.
We'll see, but yeah.
Maybe the deeper question is, it should be set here, right? It's not somewhere. Yeah, it should be set here.
Probably, I think we're setting the overall direction. Like ultimately, to me, at this moment, it doesn't matter if we get it wrong on what screen we set it, but it does feel like, yeah. I think it's important for this screen to communicate that it's going to be a group, that you're not adding a single. We will make that through copy. We will accomplish that through copy.
This will contain multiple metrics as a group. Taking notes. The important thing is that I know what it is. Okay, moving on to the next. You would basically get a screen, which is an empty screen. It's called like product KPIs, and the description, and let's say a box that you click that, yeah, I want to add a new thing. And inside of every KPI group, you also get a set of activities, which I think makes sense. It's in this group, various things can happen. Makes sense to upgrade to review them as activities.
I mean, generally companies need that. Like they need some kind of audit log. So yeah.
So when you click on, I want to add my first metric, then the screen jumps to this, which is probably the next screen that we can comment about. So the idea is, again, you have a name, you have a description. This is a new thing. I think we never talked about this. This is like the type of visualization that you want to choose. Here I was mostly inspired by Google Sheets. Like you can have line charts, bar charts. Sometimes you can have two values in one chart because sometimes it makes sense. And then the type of the data. And I would say here, remove champion reviewer cadence because these are parts of something else. That, and there is an addition that's not yet super explored, but I added a smaller link that if you click, you could choose from a set of templates, and these templates are not. I mean, it could be defined by your company as well. But my idea with these templates are that we take the KPI examples that we have. Maybe if you're watching from outside, is it like this?
Mm-hmm.
And basically build this into Operately to either fully or partially. We need to review how much it makes sense. And the idea is you click, you select, your department or type of work that you want to cover, and it immediately gives you very good hints with names, descriptions, types of charts, and basically give you an idea what could be measured, and then it's on you to pick the best.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see. Yeah, there are potentially other points in the UI from which you could explore and add, but definitely we need to use those because there's hundreds of KPI examples that we already created. Currently, they are in the form of a basically a website, but we will they're also available in a public Google Sheet, and we can pretty easily export them in a few other ways or make an small API, and yeah, so the application can just kind of load all of those, and then if you a little bit of intelligence can make it really, really convenient. Like if there's a similar, if you're in a space called product, there's a category of KPIs which contains that word, so we can suggest the groups that we have from there and examples. So yeah,
it definitely shouldn't work like I'm adding product KPIs, but no.
auto suggest. Yeah,
it is suggesting things that start with A, completely out of this.
Yeah.
And I think things after this screenshot no longer make sense. So I wouldn't even go into them super detailed because the idea after this was that you would upgrade values on a single metric, which if we do it in bulk, then it's completely different.
Yeah, there should be just a brief comment. I think for people to really adopt this, I think we owe them sort of an easy way out of a spreadsheet. At least give us CSV of historical data, something like that. I saw you have a screen for adding historical data, but it's
very manual.
Yeah, very manual. It's this can work if you're actually still toying with the whole feature and you want to add like 3 values just to see what things look like. But I would guess companies have, basically some kind of a spreadsheet with like dozens at least data points, and yeah.
I would maybe add some questions about this, because this is a point where it can be very easy and very hard when it comes to engineering. Like, the easy way is we have an expected format, and that format is, for example, following this value date. And if you give us a CSV with value dates, it's like completely obvious. I guess that works pretty much well for any, let's say, technically advanced user who knows how to produce that. Now, the hard thing would be to, give us the spreadsheet and then, some sub-screen, select portion of the screen that you want to import. And that is the place where, engineering goes like a rocket. Like, whoa, that's a completely different undertaking. And then we need to measure like how hard it is and what is the value that we are getting.
Yeah, I think for from what I've seen, for example, I think there's the reality is more, at least people that I work with, it's like your finance guy is very comfortable with CSV, for example, manipulating, data from spreadsheets in various other ways, and your technical people, they will be like, okay, can I add an arbitrary data source here?
Which is a fair question, because sorry that I'm jumping in, but it's a fair question. Some of these values should be auto-updated. Like, you can still be the champion.
Yeah.
You can still comment on a weekly basis that everything is going good or not. But, pick it up from some spreadsheet, pick it up from some Grafana, pick it up from somewhere. Like, please don't force me to manually copy stuff.
I think from our from like implementation standpoint, the most difficult part would be access. Like, how do you even also like security related? So like, yeah, we have a spreadsheet and it's not even badly formatted. It's like, how do I get a confidential spreadsheet connected to this thing? I probably even can't. I don't know. There could be like a special like OAuth or something like workflow that you could maybe develop, which like, okay, you've already connected maybe with your Google account, and then you jump through several screens which like, okay, give access to this specific file somehow in Google Drive. I don't know. sucking like data from somewhere. Like there's a library for everything that just makes it like a one-liner basically. I have for KPI examples, for example, to actually get like a range from a Google Sheet, once you pass all the authentication stuff, it's like trivial. So I think if we want to sort of very early on hint that we want to support like a automatic data sourcing, it would probably be enough to somehow to even just have like one way of doing it. Like, okay, give us a straight publicly accessible URL to a CSV or something along those lines, which is like, it's not that we don't support it. Like there is one way, like, and there will be probably that other ways in the future, but just to sort of prepare both ourselves and kind of users that, you know, we sort of we respect your time. We don't want to do like, we don't want to generate new to-dos for you in your life. So we want to avoid that whenever possible. So that could be one way.
When it comes to this, these are the kinds of the problem that usually are not the best way to decide them based on wireframes. They should be based on prototypes. Like, okay, these things are feasible. And then once we know what is feasible, then of course we can, various good UIs slap on it. Let's say, so CSV, I don't even need to. So CSV is one. Let's not forget the good old copy paste.
Yeah.
Then ingesting from sheets. MS Google, what are the others? With us too. And probably an API. That is also some teams might be like even more comfortable. Just give me an API where I can push stuff once per week. And like it's a completely internal tool, but we know how to push stuff out. I would probably wrap it up for today with this. Maybe the question, like it feels to me that the most natural point when we can continue this conversation is once we have an answer to, where is it? To this, like updated wireframes about this. Champions are on this group level. Updating is on the group level. We maybe have some wireframes about templates. Then the conversation can continue in a natural form.
Yeah, I agree. There is one more big question, big topic that I had in mind. Just to mention it, so we can maybe start processing it in the background. This is the relation to goals. And again, like what I would like to avoid, for example, is like that what Operately wants you to do is it wants you to update the KPIs And then when you go and define a goal, which is like based on the value of the KPI, it forces you to manually enter all the things that we currently ask you to now. And it's unaware of the KPI at all. And, so I think it's pretty obvious we want to connect them somehow. And yeah, it's a question of, mocking up something in wireframes first and seeing how it might work.
Maybe to repeat this from my sentence, I like to do that because that shows that we are in the same
Are
topic.
we understanding or?
So, for example, it would be, I don't have a better word, but very cool to create a goal. And then the goal is about changing one KPI from value X to value Z. And you don't even need to like update that. The system can source it out. But that is the goal.
Yeah. So the act of checking in on a goal then is then purely about look at the number, think about it, determine if there is any action, report further and so on. So awareness,
That would probably be on the KPI, like as you are updating, like what are the changes, I assume. And on the goal level, it's like what are the steps, what are the blockers that are preventing us from going to the next jump. It's maybe I'm being overly pedantic, but the mindset is different. Like one is just, is it good, bad? The other is, okay, like these three things are completely blocking us. We cannot move it to that.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's interesting. We'll probably need to refine that kind of separation somehow. Okay, we can pause here.
It feels good.
Yeah.